What's up, Yins? Welcome back to another episode of Car Dad Bill. This week on Car Dad Bill, we have a 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 5 limited all-wheel drive. That is the dual motor setup, all-wheel drive with the 400 plus torque figures, which make this thing just bonkers fast when you want to be. But it's another electric car. Car Dad Bill is starting to like these electric vehicles. They're starting to really, get better and better with their technology and their range. Let's go for a ride. All right, Jins, standing outside the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai, and this is my second trip with one of these types of vehicles within the last year. This is the 23 model year, and you'll notice right off the bat, super awesome matte finish paint job. That's an extra option, $1,000 option for that, but I think it looks super good and it really makes this vehicle pop. The shape. The shape looks great with matte finish. Up front here, sick LED lights back inside the housing, and I like how the housing comes out and comes all the way around, and it makes that aerodynamic for the airflow because it's electric. There's no need for any kind of ventilation up front to cool anything for aerodynamics. Huge 20-inch wheels on the sides at each corner. Love the different accents, the lines, these creases in the door stand out very much with the matte finish. And then each wheel arch has a really clean, looks like stuff is coming up out of the wheel arches as you drive down the road. Really nice looking. Some nice trim at the bottom of the doors as well. Coming around back, privacy glass, and then obviously the handles, right? The handles go in and out when you lock it, and then when you unlock it, they pop back out, or when you walk up to the vehicle with the key in your pocket as well. Around back, pixel headlights or taillights, LED pixels. No exhaust, obviously, right? We don't need it with the electric vehicle. Charging door is in the back corner back here, passenger side. See the vents underneath the spoiler up there? Just super clean design. Love the outside of this thing. Let's go inside, take a look. All right, Jins, inside the Ioniq 5. And what is the first thing you notice about the interior on this thing? Well, at least for me, it's the expansive footwell and floor space that you have. Cubby holes for things. All this storage space down here. Some more storage space up here. Storage in the doors. And then like the handles here. And then the handle is here, like to close the door. Your hand can fit underneath there, but you don't see that when you first open the door. But this is what the interior looks like. Firing the EV up. Turning the radio off. This is what it looks like inside the electric car. And then here's what the screen looks like. You have basically your tachometer on this side and then your speed on this side with a digital display and a bar graph display that goes up and down as you drive. Down here are your different levels of regen. You can go all the way up to one pedal driving. Notice I have 39% and I have 93 miles. Notice I have it over here as well telling me 39%, 93 miles. And then everything else is there. You can swipe through this screen, and it's really, really very sensitive, and it works really well. Down here are my dedicated HVAC controls. And HVAC controls in an electric car are a little bit different than in normal cars. It takes a little bit different. It doesn't always heat like you want it to heat, and you have to actually tell it to heat. See the heat button up top there? And then there's where your heated steering wheel button is and all that. So you have to actually go into the climate settings to get the screen to tell it to actually heat, or it won't. It'll just blow out like kind of warmish air. But that's where all the controls are for that. Then you have your dedicated buttons for tuning, for your volume, and then for all of your other options within that screen. You can hit the home button up here and swipe back. I like that screen because it gives me a digital display of my battery power and my mileage remaining. It also has a map kind of built into it, and then it has the time and my radio station. And when you click on the radio station, you can actually go right to the radio list. So I find that to be helpful. I like the screen. Some people don't like the rest screen, but that to each their own. Hyundai says there are sustainable materials throughout the interior. So you have sustainable materials on the door, on the seats. The seats are really comfortable and very, very supportive. You have stitching on top of the dashboard. You have stitching on top of the door over here. Look at that steering wheel too. The steering wheel is something to notice as well, because it has the flat bottom. It also doesn't have the bottom supports that go, normally right here and right here. So it's different. I like it. I like all of the roominess in here. See all that? See how there's just emptiness across in here, because you don't have a need for a transmission tunnel or for a gear selector. The gear selector is right here, and it's really easy to use. Let's go in the back and talk about that. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. This door handle. How should you approach it? Should you open it like this? Should you open it like this? Should you open it like that? Should you open it from the side like this? It really doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's however you feel like walking up and opening the door. But it definitely is different, and people kind of stumble with it. Inside, really, really clean, decent room. I left the hockey sticks in there because the hockey sticks have to come down from the back. These fold forward, and they also fold back, so you can have more leg room or more. These also slide forward. There's a sliding mechanism down here to slide the seat, and then fold the seat flat or lean it back more, recline it. And you also get in the limited trim back here. Underneath the Ioniq is a button. The button gets pushed, and here you come. Full of hockey stuff. I wanted to show you guys what the back looks like with all the hockey equipment in there. And then you remove it and have this gigantic storage space, and you can see how the seats will fold or push forward. You'll have a little bit more room. Storage place down here. You can put some of your stuff, some of your smaller items down inside those holes. This covers back up. There's also a cover that goes in there where it actually goes across the back of the trunk. I took it, but overall, you have a lot of space, and I think it's perfect for my size family for sure. Let's get inside and go for a ride. All right, Chins, before we get on the road, I wanted to make sure we go over some of the numbers. They sent me a Monroney in my email, so I kind of consolidated all the data onto this. We'll go over that stuff. It's a 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 5 limited all-wheel drive. That gives you the H-Track all-wheel drive system. This is a dual motor setup in the limited all-wheel drive. 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque in a little 5-door. Well, not little. It's really not little. When you see it on the road, you kind of go towards, hey, it's a smaller vehicle. But when you're in it and you're next to other cars, you realize that this is actually a fairly, beefy sized vehicle. 446 pound-feet of torque is so much torque. When you have it in sport mode and you take all the regen off and you jump on it, it is like a slingshot. Quiet slingshot is all I can say. Claim a range of 266 miles fully charged. In the summertime, in a flat area where the car is not going up and down hills as much as it is in Western PA, yeah, I can definitely say that it probably would get close to 300 miles. Here, actual mileage during my week with it, which takes into consideration the drive from where it came from and then me driving it here, the most I got was 220 miles on a full charge. Now, this also has the capability of a fast charge from 10% to 80% in 18 minutes. So you're really going to get 3/4 of your tank of fuel or your battery charge, whatever you want to call it, and 18 minutes. So that's really good, I think, for what you really need in around town driving, suburban driving, a little bit of rural driving, even if you have a charger at home, absolutely. But fast charging from 10 to 80 in 18 minutes is really a good compromise when you think about it for all those folks out there that are kind of, not really on the electric car bandwagon yet. I don't know that there's going to be a bandwagon, to be honest with you, but this car really serves a really good function, has good mileage, and it's quick charging at home as well. It takes 8.5 hours to charge it on a 240 outlet level 2 charger. I have one of those, and really it is an overnight charge. You use it however you want during the day, and then plug it in at night before you go to bed, and you have a full charge when you wake up in the morning. That really alleviates a lot of that anxiety, I feel. Um, this has the paint job for $1,000 option, which I love. I think that's worth it. It looks great. I think it's a great idea. Then you have the MSRP of $59,045. That's so much money, 60 grand for an electric vehicle, but it's the limited all-wheel drive one with the potential range of 300 miles. So there you get the trade-offs and you get all that stuff. So there's your data on the Hyundai Ioniq 5 limited all-wheel drive. Let's get on the road and actually talk about, the pros and cons. All right, Jens, let's get to the good and bad list. And really, my good and bad list is pretty much what it is on most of these electric cars, right? So electric cars have smooth power delivery. They have unbelievable handling, and there's no like transmission drama. So you just step on the gas, you go as fast as you want. If you change your Hey Yins, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. It helps. It's getting noticed. Car companies love it. I love it. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep driving these cars around. I appreciate your support. Regeneration capabilities, which you have 3 levels of regen, and then you have 1 pedal driving. So if you're constantly manipulating the regen while you're driving, you can actually benefit a lot from the hills and valleys wherever you live, and you can actually recapture the power that you're using to drive the vehicle. So it makes it very custom, and it makes it very user-friendly and kind of adaptable to the situation that you're in. And that's what I love the most about electric vehicles, is the ability to do that. This one allows you to drive the vehicle 1 pedal in city situations or any other situation that you want to drive it in 1 pedal. But it also gives you the option to take the regen off completely for when you're driving on the highway, which I find to be a little bit more efficient. Free rolling basically while you're driving on the highway. And then you can turn it on and engage it when you get off the highway on an off ramp. Second thing on my good list is the decent range capability that this one incorporates. Hyundai is saying, almost 300 miles of range. They're saying, 266 on the Monroney itself. I haven't been able to see that just yet, but that's not a bad number for a full electric vehicle of this size. And that really makes it actually beneficial for folks that commute, and normal vehicles that, gasoline engines come out with, 350-mile range typically in a gas engine. So not bad. Next on my list, great style, great paint job, good sound system, and comfortable. Those are my last items on the good list. So starting off with the style and the paint job, that is, it speaks for itself. It's got great style, and it has that matte finish that everyone's looking for. And they're coming on a lot of different high-end vehicles as well, from the factory. Mercedes and whatnot have that. Sound system. The Bose sound system in this vehicle is wonderful. It was lacking in some of the other electric vehicles that I've driven over the past year or so. The sound system just didn't have that deepness, didn't have that depth, and that just all around sound range. This one incorporates that. This one has great sound and deep bass, strong bass, and it's noticeable. And I think that's a positive step forward, because you have a quiet vehicle to begin with. You want to have a good sound system in it. And last but not least, comfort. It is comfortable. It is supportive. None of my kids complained about it being uncomfortable. None of my passengers complained about it being uncomfortable. But they were a little bit like weary of all of this space around us, because they're just not used to seeing such a flat, baseline. There's no motor, there's no tunnel in it. So like, they literally just, there's just nothingness. It's just wide open inside. I'm going to flip to the bad list. And the bad list is really, it's really kind of, niche specific because we're talking about a fully electric vehicle. Um, the cons in my mind, just if you throw out all of the normal cons, being electric, being fully electric, being, you have to deal with the superchargers that are out there or lack thereof, the charging network, and we'll go over that stuff later. But from my perspective as a car guy and of someone that's driven these, a few times and has lived with them for a little bit longer than most, um, the Smart Sense driver assist systems in these cars are very, very, very intrusive. And if you need to depend on these driver assist programs and these radars and systems in the cars to make sure you don't wreck or you don't or because you can't park, you got to have there's got to be some kind of education, right? You can't depend on all these different driver aid systems while you're driving a vehicle because you're driving the vehicle still and you need to always be aware of what's going on and whatnot. So that bothers me. Those driver assist systems, they're over intrusive and push the limits a little bit of focus, at least in my mind. Dad rant aside, the cons on this vehicle in specific, it's all electric. So you are either having a home charger or you're depending on the system wherever you live to charge your vehicle. And a lot of people don't like that. A lot of folks do not want to depend on the network that's not really there. And the first thing that most people say when I tell them that this is all electric is, I can't drive it across the country. And this is true in the speed that you might want to drive it, but you can drive a car across the country on electric grid. There's enough chargers there. You just have to adapt the time it's going to take you to get to that destination. Next thing on my bad list is winter dependability and drivability. These cars don't have the residual heat with them as a combustible engine has, generating heat inside the engine bay. The engine bay basically turns into an oven and just radiates heat throughout the vehicle. Electric cars in this car have to make the heat and blow it out. And the rest of the car outside and whatnot doesn't get all of the residual heat that you would normally get, if that makes any sense. So I had an electric vehicle last winter around Christmas, and it was brutally cold here. And it really actually worked great as far as holding a charge and keeping decent range. And the power and the all-wheel drive system worked really well. The problem was the wipers always froze because there was not enough heat underneath the windshield to keep those windshield wipers warm enough to take snow off the windshield. And not to mention it was sub-zero, so it was very, very cold. But those are my cons. Hey Jens, I forgot to show you the charging port and that you can do the super fast charge by pulling this tab out. And now you have the DC fast charge, which will charge from 10% to 80% in around 18 minutes or so. And then this is your gauge to like how far you have. And it's just a mechanical door. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you real quick. When I dropped the car off at my house earlier today, it was around 2 o'clock. I started charging and I was at 20% battery and I was at about 47 miles range. So it's about 2.5 hours of charging at a 220 charging, level 2 charging station. Got me to 58%, 140 miles. So it gave me another 100 miles and 30% battery in about 2 hours. Here's the level 2 plug that I have at my house. The wire is pretty substantial. Right into the car, charging it up. And then if you look inside the car, it tells you 4 hours and 5 minutes to charge it 100% at 9.2 kilowatts. So that's a pretty good charge. In conclusion, on this vehicle, I love it. I think it's a great commuter. I think it gives you good personality. solid comfort. It's fast on the road. It's fast in turns. It's quiet like an electric car should be. It has really nice style. That's the thing that stands out the most to me is the power and the style that this thing brings. It turns heads, people notice it, and it's just a fun car to drive. This is Car Dad Bill this week. Real cars, real people for real life. I appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe. See you next week.